Welcome to this video where I show you what kind of magic you can create with only 4 Neocolor II crayons. So this video is for you if you want to learn how to make the most of a limited palette, and that's why I chose to use only 4 crayons today, even though we all love these larger collections of all kinds of beautiful colors. It's actually really good for you at times to explore a more limited palette, and I've made videos before where I've used only 10 crayons or less, but today I wanted to use just 3 primary colors and an extra. So the colors I'm using today are, as said, primaries and an extra Payne's Gray. So we'll be using Payne's Gray, and then the primaries we are using are Carmine, light blue, and yellow. And the reason I wanted to add Payne's Gray is that it is actually a very magical color. It can do so much, and I will soon show you what I mean. But in today's video I will swatch these, I will show you some really useful color mixes, and then we will create a very simple, quick landscape sketch so that you can see how to use these in practice. And I hope that it inspires also you to make the most out of your Neocolor IIs. And also with this video I want to again share the message that you don't always have to go out there to buy new art supplies, but when you explore what you have already, you can find so much inspiration and so many new ways to use what you have already, and that way also fight a bit the art supply overconsumption, which is another topic that we could discuss a lot at some point. So first I wanted to swatch just the 4 crayons of your 4 colors that we use as a base, and then we'll start adding different color mixes. And of course I first want to show you the basic color mixes, so how to mix purple, orangey, peachy orangey color, and some green. And this of course very basic color theory, so if you know your color wheel, this is how you use your primary colors. So when you mix them together you can then bring out these kind of more complementary colors and different shades. And I also want to show you here how you can actually change the shade quite a bit depending on how much on each color you have. So for example, when we are here mixing yellow and carmine together, if you add more water and more yellow, you get this kind of peachy color, and then if you add a bit less of the yellow, you get a more kind of brighter orange. The same goes with the green. You can really play with it, and depending on which color you emphasize, which one you have more, either blue or yellow, then depending on that you can create different variations. And then when we mix all 3 together, we can create a brown. And really sorry about the lighting conditions. Oh my goodness, if you could see how dark it is outside this time of the year here where I live. I should definitely get some good studio lights at some point. But you can see that mixing all these 3 together, then of course, according to the color theory, gives you a nice brown. And this is actually a brown that I really enjoy. I think it reminds me a lot of my favorite browns in the Neocolor II series. And then when we talk about Payne's Gray and what that can do, so I wanted to also give you these quick swatches of all 3 primary colors mixed with Payne's Gray, and you can see what kind of beautiful colors this creates. So this Payne's Gray is somewhat bluish, as Payne's Grays often are. This is not super blue, but it's still bluish enough that you can see here that it creates actually a purple when you mix it with carmine, which is of course a bit kind of purplish red already. And then when we mix this Payne's Gray together with yellow, it gives you this beautiful green. So it's just as I said, really nice to experiment and see what you can create. And if you can imagine that these kind of 3 very bright colors, when you add Payne's Gray, you can then create these beautiful muted tones. So I think that's very, very much something that I enjoy. I love to see these beautiful color mixes. Here I'm mixing together Carmine, yellow, and Payne's Gray, because as said, this Payne's Gray has a beautiful kind of dark bluish gray tone, and this also gives you a beautiful brown. So you can see here that it's of course somewhat similar to previous brown, but this one is a bit deeper, a bit darker, thanks to the Payne's gray. That being said, I think we could play with these crayons the whole day long and then just give you different variations. But yeah, you could definitely make these experimentations and see what you can create if you add a bit more of some pigment, if you add just a hint of the Carmine and lots of yellow, what happens? If you add lots of Payne's gray and just a hint of yellow, that's what we'll do next. I also want to show you how you can actually create very different shades of green with just these two crayons. But as said, you could play with these the whole day long and see what kind of combinations you can bring out, and also if you add a bit more water or less water, what that does. So it's really, I'd say, a magical thing to do at times. And by changing this blue into something else, for example ultramarine, which you could also very easily use for this, or changing the yellow or red, you can get again very different kind of color mixes, even though the basic theory of course remains the same. But why I wanted to show you these swatches is that very often it's easy to say that yeah, you can do so much with just some primaries, but then when it comes to it, it might be difficult to see how much you can actually create. And by adding this one extra, which in this case is the Payne's gray, it gives you even more variations, and it kind of tones down the colors so much that it becomes this perfect landscape palette. So I wanted to just draw this very simple landscape out of my imagination and bring different elements there. And the purpose here is not to give you kind of a full landscape tutorial, but more of give you the idea how you can mix these colors on paper and also on a palette. So I have here my Caran palette, which has a bit of rough surface. You've seen me use this a lot in my channel, and this time I cleaned it. I don't often do that because I love to re-wet and reuse the colors that I put down there. But this time I wanted to start with a clean palette so that we can actually see the color mixes that I'll be creating. So first I'm gonna do a very quick sketch, as said, and this wasn't overly planned. I just thought that we want to bring different elements to the paper so that you can see how to mix different colors. So we're gonna add some distant hills and then some forest, then maybe some rocky sandy beach, and then some water. So maybe it's by a lake or something. And you can see that I'm adding the pigments on a paper. I'm kind of drawing with the crayons. And this is very much what you could do, for example, when you go and paint outdoors. If you want to sketch outdoors, you could just have these few crayons with you and maybe a water brush. And that way you can mix them on paper. You don't even need a palette if that's something that you prefer. And now we start mixing this more of a brown shade that we want to have here. And for that, I'm this time using the basic mix of yellow, Carmine, and Payne's gray. And that, as said, we could see in the kind of previous step, we could see that this creates a beautiful warm brown. And now we're gonna add water to this very weird looking page. You can see that, well, the fun thing about Neocolor II is that they release so much pigment. So even though it looks like I've just scribbled a bit on the paper, once we start adding water, you can see that it actually turns to a real painting. So it's very easy and simple to create a lot of strong effects, even with only a few crayons and not adding too much pigment on the paper. And this way we can also get these beautiful natural tones, and we can start building layers when the first layer isn't overly pigmented and kind of full of strong pigment. But anyway, totally up to you what your technique is. That's not the topic of today's video, but more of showing you what beautiful shades you can create. Look at that beautiful, say like bluish gray that we created the background. I think that's a beautiful starting point. And here we are mixing yellow and light blue on a paper, creating this kind of first layer of green for our forest. And as you can see, I'm not trying or aiming to get a very even background. I actually really like that we can see those kind of darker areas and lighter areas. That's also why it's very interesting and good when you mix these crayons on a paper. You can already start building the different shadows and tones. Instead of if I would be using just the palette, I would get much more even color mix. So that's why I really enjoy this technique, and that's why these crayons are brilliant, that you can add them on a paper. And already at this point we can see so many different shades. And can you imagine that we've only used 4 crayons to create all these different shades and tones that we can see on a paper at this point, and there is more to come. And this is definitely why I'm always encouraging you to explore what you have already, because I know we are all so tempted with all the beautiful new art supplies and new releases that are coming out all the time, and of course our algorithm wants to recommend them to us, and we love purchasing new art supplies and watching those art supply hauls. But to be honest, sometimes it can even work against it. It can work against the creativity. Of course, at times new art supplies definitely feed your creativity. I'm not saying that that's not the case. I love new art supplies as much as anyone else, but I'm not over hoarding them all the time, because I really enjoy and get the inspiration out of what I have already. And this is one reason why that happens, that I can challenge myself to see my art supplies in a new way and creating these beautiful color mixes. Of course, it's wonderful when you can find that perfect Neocolor II crayon, which kind of serves all your needs and you just love it. And if you explore a new color and you feel that this is the one, this is gonna solve all my problems. And I'm not saying this as a joke. I feel that genuinely it can happen. But if you don't have it in your budget, or otherwise you don't want to accumulate lots of new colors all the time, why not make this color mixing exercise? At least for me, this is as much fun and even more inspirational than exploring just new crayons out of the box. Okay, well, anyway, back to the artwork that we are working on, or this quick sketch, not really a huge artwork, but a landscape sketching. So here we are building now some shadows, and I'm mixing the colors on a palette and kind of playing with them, different shades and different ratios of the primaries and Payne's gray, and that way bringing lots of different colors and shades also on a paper. We want to bring some shadows, definitely, so we can bring some depth. And as said, this is a very simple landscape, but we can still do quite a lot with it and explore the different shades and textures. And what I also love about Neocolor II, as you know, if you've been watching my videos, is the fact that you can get this beautiful kind of mixed media effect with them so easily. So you can add the crayon straight on paper, get that beautiful kind of crayon markings, or you can use them more like watercolor, which is one of my favorite mediums. So I think with these crayons, I can kind of get the best of both worlds. I think that Neocolor IIs are one of those mediums that the more you use them, the more you love them. That might happen with lots of art supplies, that if you don't enjoy one of your art supplies already, give it more time, give it more love, and explore it a bit more. Experiment what you can do with it. I think Neocolor IIs were pretty much love at first sight for me. I immediately loved them and I enjoyed them from the beginning. But the more I've used them and the more I've explored what I can actually create with them, the more I love them. So Neocolor IIs are at the moment pretty much my favorite next to watercolors. And the reason is that I have really found kind of new, more loose and experimental side of my own art with these crayons. Even though I love to make really detailed colored pencil drawings. That's actually something I'm not showing that much on my channel, but that's one of my main things that I love to do. I love to spend hours and hours on drawing some flowers or birds with colored pencils. But even though I love that, and even though I love my watercolors and different techniques and the beautiful transparency of that medium, I think that with Neocolor IIs I have found this more loose and sketchbook-like kind of quick sketches style that I didn't do that much before. And this is very good for me. I feel that it really helps me to relax and find that inspiration and kind of everyday art. So yeah, that's also one reason to explore and see what you can do differently. It might actually give you some extra inspiration and help you find new sites and new ways to enjoy your own art journey. Here I am adding just some final details and some shadows and, just having fun basically at this point. I wanted to add the crayons. I wanted to enjoy and see what I can still do and create with them. I hope that this video inspires you to also explore maybe a bit more limited palette. And it doesn't have to be 3 primaries and Payne's Grey by any means. You can choose whichever colors you want and see what kind of color mixes you can create. Actually, a really fun exercise could be that you're just randomly picking 3 or 4 colors from your palette and seeing what you can create with those. Maybe that's something that we'll do on this channel later this month. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see something like that. But here we are. I hope that you enjoyed this video, as said, and if you have, there are lots of other Neocolor II videos on my channel, so please check them out if you haven't already. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so and give this video a like if you'd like to see something more like this also in the future. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope that you will enjoy your own art journey and hopefully you will enjoy your water-soluble crayons, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye for now.